Where she would know.
Anybody have any victories that you've experienced over the past week you want to share? Things going on in your life where you were able to use some of the Sandler strategies and tactics to find success, either through learning or actually hitting a home run?
Five customer service problems.
I guess not. It's not working, huh?
Too much success.
All right, let's get started. Welcome to Sales Mastery. Today, we're going to be continuing on the subject of developing a prospecting plan. I personally believe that most of us have a prospecting plan of some sort, whether it's conscious and we follow it, or whether it's just spontaneous, but you really can't stay in business without generating net new business. What I find for organizations that focus energy on actually bringing in new business is the future is generally a lot less stressful, because you've got this conveyor belt of people that are coming into your world that you're working on nurturing. Now, if you've been in business long enough that you're getting introductions, referrals, or past clients coming in, you've learned that it's a whole lot easier to sell somebody who already knows about you or knows about you through a trusted advisor who has endorsed the relationship. Those deals have a higher close ratio and a more successful outcome to the arrangement. Jason last week talked about the referral tree and building, really creating an orchard of referral sources that are constantly bringing you business. The more we nurture that, the more successful we'll be. I'd like you to take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to draw a circle on that paper. And this circle represents the amount of time you spend in your work week. So whatever that work week is, label that blank hours. So Parkinson's law says that a project will expand to fit the amount of time that's given to it. The principle of time management by time blocking is about allocating highest priority activities first, blocking time for them. If you think about your activities to generate net new business, it's going to take up some percentage of your time. Let's say you're in a leadership role, you're wearing multiple hats. You're a player coach, so you're in sales, but you're also sales manager, you're also team leader. You've got these multiple hats you're wearing. Each demands time. The hat I want to focus on is the hat of prospecting for new clients. What activities do you use to focus? So in the example that I'm giving here, maybe it's only 10% of your time. And one of the secrets that accountants tell us about is called dual allocation of resources. So we have the single resource of time. We have a finite, limited amount of time, and often we can use that time for multiple areas of focus. For example, you're working with current clients, they become a source for planting the seeds to develop referral. And through developing that relationship and having the engagement with the client and training them how to help you grow your business, that's planting a referral tree. So thinking about using your time, I want you to come up with what amount of time do you spend specifically to attract new clients. Now it may be a small percentage of your time if you're wearing multiple hats. If you are directly responsible for sales, that's your primary job, it needs to command more time. So my rule of thumb is 50-50. If 50% of your time, if you're strictly in a selling role, if this 50% is, we'll call it hunting, the remainder of the time, this 50% everything else will fill in the gaps. It's all of the subsequent activities. Once I find someone, what has to happen as I move them through my pipeline? So the homework last week was put together a plan for any changes in your prospecting activities, and then build out what accountability you want to make sure that you succeed. In your breakout, I want you to talk about what did you discover when you examined your plan, and what is the current and proposed time you will commit to new client acquisition. How much time are you able, and be realistic here, how much time are you able to focus on attracting net new clients? We'll give you, we'll just go 6 minutes for this first breakout.
Hey, Jim, can I just
Yeah.
ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So these would be like direct activities, not indirect, correct? Like not marketing type functions, like if
Yeah.
Instagram, for example.
Thank you very much. Proactive. So
Okay.
it's a proactive. Now, if does Instagram count? If you find that you have successfully gained net new clients from social media, then I think that counts if you're putting in feelers, putting out educational information. But as in all of these things, we want to be judicious of how much time we allow, because a project will expand to fit the amount of time given to it. And I don't know if you're guilty of this. I certainly am. I can spend an awful lot of time getting ready to get ready when I should just take the action. Any other questions? All right, here we go. How much time do you currently spend, and will you commit to spending on hunting activities to attract net new clients?
Do you expect to have the fabric?
Matt, you having trouble getting into your breakout group?
Yeah, I'm trying to join the gas bars group. I'm not sure what. I was sent to room 9, but can you send me to gas bars?
Yeah, let us work on that.
Yep. It's room 8, so it's gonna give you a prompt for room 10 and then room 8.
Okay, I
So
saw.
that's-
Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
So we're getting there.
Yeah.
So,
And then I think his name is Jesse. Does he go out and actually like surveys? So you're just kind of that connection for your
So
company.
Jesse actually does the same thing that I do. He's
Oh,
just with a
okay.
different branch. Yeah. So we have 5 different branches total, and we all service a 2-hour territory window. So I can go, I'm in Reno, Reno Tahoe area. I can go from here all the way to Susanville and Portola. I can go to Lake Tahoe. I can go to South Lake. But I can also go east too. So we have huge amounts of ground to cover here. It's a little bit challenging with the amount of area we have to cover and the amount of people we have to talk to. But I mean, like I said, it definitely pays off.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure. What about you guys?
I definitely don't think I'm doing 80%. I would say I do like lots of our leads, but those aren't like proactively like those just come in. So I do like handle those.
Mhm.
But I'd say honestly a good starting point with that for us would probably be just to like more proactively like ask like current clients just for like referrals and things like that because we don't like really ask. Like we do get so many referrals, like repeat customers, but we aren't like physically like asking for them. So I think that would just be a good starting point in general for us. Like we do like networking things and like trying to find people, but like actual like prospecting, which sometimes those people are prospects. Like you meet other business owners and they actually like need work that we're doing. But yeah, I would say it's probably a smaller amount of like actual proactive processing, prospecting that we do compared to just like passive like things that come through like every week. Mhm.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, mine's a little bit more than just passive, but it is something that I like have to make myself do. So, I joined Rotary. I'm in some other charity groups. So a lot of like kind of relationship building things more so than like chamber events and things like that. Because I think if you want to sell a very expensive product, like you also have to kind of have that relationship with somebody. Somebody's not gonna like, oh, I met you once and I have your card. So I feel like those things that I do more regularly, they don't necessarily always create kind of a new referral base, but I feel like they do over time. So I'm still kind of in that process. And then I have weekly activities that I tell our owner, like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for the week. And it's good accountability, seeing as there was an event last night and I was like, I just don't want to go. Like, I cannot be nice to people for 2 more hours. But I
Amen.
did tell him I was gonna go, so I went and it was all fine and just, So sometimes I have to like push myself to do it. It's not prospecting, it's not the easiest for me. What about you, Justin? And remind me what your field you're in?
All right, we're back. So when it comes to a discussion of prospecting and how are we going to invest the precious time that we have in developing relationships, one of the things I want you to consider is is your business model served best by a broad number of attempts spread out over a large audience, or a
Our
few
Easter egg hunt is at 9 a.m. today.
attempts that are spread out in targeted area for just a few people? So if you think about it, pipeline management is really about if you're using social media, very often you're casting a very wide net. You're throwing it out to any audience. Show of hands if you do any LinkedIn postings. LinkedIn postings, probably
Oh, no,
about
that's okay. They're,
third, maybe
doing,
50%. If you're in that environment, what you're doing is you're scattering information in hopes that somebody catches it and builds brand awareness. It requires persistence. It requires variety of touches. You're going to be doing a lot of experimenting. You'll try things that work and you'll find some things that don't work. If you think about the problems that you're going to encounter, one is diminishing returns. The more visual you become out there, the more easily ignored you are. If you aren't offering high quality content that draws people in, they're going to push you aside. It's time consuming. You can spend a lot of time on activities and risk annoying the audience that you're reaching out to. So is it wise to pursue a broad cast of a net in order to achieve some awareness of your brand versus a few attempts on a deeper level? So if we're going to focus on fewer targets with deeper activities, this is a far more strategic approach. It's really identifying who are my ideal targets, what is the common denominator, how can I reach them on a personal basis. It's more about building relationships than marketing. I see of marketing as almost the umbrella that is responsible for building, establishing, and maintaining brand awareness and organizational reputation. We all contribute to building the marketing brand in everything we do, from how you personally dress. You are the brand when you're out in the public. How do you look? How will people judge your organization based on what they see in you? How do you communicate, both in writing and orally or visually if you're in face-to-face interactions? All of these are brand building efforts. When it comes to developing a pipeline, if you will, and really looking at who and how do I want to focus, this next tool, I think, is a great way. If your business will be served best by fewer targets and deeper activities, my suggestion is you be very specific on how much can you manage. Like, let's say, for example, if you have more than 50 people in your pipeline, you're at max capacity. You get over 50 people, they are all going to get a minimal amount of attention, and a few may get the appropriate attention to drive them deeper. If you bump up to 70 or 80, now you're scrambling. So what is your sweet spot in managing relationships and taking them deep enough that you are harvesting revenue out of the relationship? So it depends. Are these are these relationships. So this tool is designed to help you identify what are some relationships that I can focus on this year, this quarter, that are going to help me generate revenue. And this list gives you 8. Depending on the type of business, you may have, maybe your list is 12, maybe it's 30, maybe it's 60. But whatever that list is, I think you serve yourself well by declaring your focus each quarter. And each quarter you're taking your goal is to take people through this funnel. The ones that you can flush, you get rid of. The ones that you can't, you carry over to the next quarter. So it's really about managing relationship pipelines. Now, there's a couple of types of people that you may connect with here. One is strategic partners. Show of hands if you get revenue from strategic partnerships, people who are introducing you to other folks. Okay, so those are often long-term. I have strategic partners that I've been working with for years and years that continue to develop relationships that serve both parties well. So having that key focus as part of your prospecting plan, I think, is important. Second is looking at prioritizing the leads that are coming in, treating those referral and introduction leads with a more proactive approach often makes sense. So in this breakout, what I want you to do is talk through what's your strategy is it broadcasting wide to a large audience or narrow to a finite audience, or is it kind of the shotgun approach? And the real question here is it working, right? Is what I'm doing working? And if not, what do I need to do to deepen my focus and deepen the relationship? Okay, let's go 6 minutes for this one.
Hola.
Justin, sorry, it cut out right before I learned what you do. Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Jinxed. They say if AI ever takes over the world, the best trades to be in is plumbing and HVAC. They
Mhm.
always need running water and something to keep those electronics cool. Always.
Bailey, I feel like you do the most networking out of the group. Do you feel like it's more broad? Like, how do you kind of you've
It's
met someone, now what do you do with them? That kind of thing.
so I met someone, I put them in our CRM system, they're my customer. If they call for a referral or someone mentions them from referral, or we also take in what's called program jobs. Essentially, a lot of the times those come from independent insurance agents. And what will happen is it's just like, I had a flood, I need someone to come to my house. Can you have a contractor call me? It's just the insurance company sending over your information to another contractor and then us calling you. And if it comes from my agents and it's mine. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll follow up with the customer, I'll follow up with the agent in that case, if they did send over a referral. And I don't know if it's my Italian roots or what it is, but I don't come without something. I don't come
Mhm.
without swag. I don't come without information. I don't come without being an advocate. I don't come without a bottle of wine, a gift basket, a thank you card, a something. I can't do it. It's not my style at all. I hate it. And a lot of the times I'm coming into these offices without a meeting, they could have customers. So it's just kind of like a kind gesture, I don't want to take up too much of your time kind of thing. But honestly, I just see them typically around every 45 days. I pop in, say, hi, how are you guys doing? Do you need any help with anything? How are things going? And especially for us, the industry is changing so much because insurance carriers are dropping customers left and right. They're
Mhm.
driving drones or flying drones over people's homes. And because they have a couple shingles missing or they have overhanging trees on the roof, they're canceling coverage. And they can't find new coverage. So the industry is changing a lot. But I do that a lot by networking in my groups. I'm in a crew organization with a bunch of other women, and I'm also involved in a BNI group. So it's nice because a lot of the people that are in those groups are the people that I already see.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing them twice a week. The few really big referrers, at least sometimes twice a week, at least once a week, which has really, really, really been helpful for me. But the rest of my tribe, I'm seeing every I have a couple. I have 15, 30, and 60 days. And then there's a few that are 45 days that I mark out, but I am seeing them almost every single month. I try to, because I need to keep consistent and they need to know that we're still currently here.
Mhm.
That's the big thing because we live in Reno. We don't have very much competition. The other competition that is coming into town though is rather fierce. And we just we need to stay current. We need to have a fresh face in the market.
Mhm. Well, that's awesome.
It's crazy. It's crazy. What about you, Megan?
Um, yeah, it's funny how I'll have clients and they will have been from Google. I would say a lot of my leads are people who don't know us, and then we'll do the job, and then as soon as we finish, there's this huge spurt sometimes of people, but I won't have ever known that. Some people are like, oh, as soon as we start, oh, I told you about this person or that person. So sometimes I don't always know who will be lead generators of former clients, and it's not always the people that you think it will be. But just anytime they refer us, writing a thank you note, a Chick-fil-A card. I'm like you, Bailey. I always come with something. We
always.
send candles with our signature scent when you become a client, and
Yeah.
gift baskets and fancy bottles of champagne when you're done. And those things just kind of help, kind of, I don't know, I feel like people like things.
Word of mouth is incredibly powerful.
Yes.
Yes.
But just once they do become a lead generator, it's like, oh, okay, I need to really continue to hone that. And people who aren't, they probably aren't, but it's not because we didn't do a great job. It's
All right, we're back. Let's put together a quick list of what are the challenges. So we've talked about We've talked about Parkinson's law and prioritizing new client acquisition activities. We've talked about the strategy of how do I manage my pipeline? Do I do a lot of activities and hope it lands, or do I target on a few folks? What are the challenges? What are the questions?
Jim, I'm sorry. I don't remember you talking about Parkinson's law.
Say again? Is that a question?
What was Parkinson's law?
Parkinson's law is a project will expand to fit the amount of time allocated to it. And the way it harms us in sales is if we don't allocate designated time to proactive prospecting for new clients, we often just don't do it. And so we end up gaining clients passively instead of being proactive. So when it comes to your prospecting, what are the challenges you're facing?
Time is always a factor.
Time. Tell me more about it. Is it I'm too busy? Is it what's behind that, Patrick?
Trying to squeeze like 12 hours of work into like a 9-hour day. Something's got to give. For me, it's always that calling the past client, which in my humble opinion is probably one of the highest priorities I could do.
Okay, good. Okay, great one. What else?
Jim, at one point you kind of categorized people in buckets as far as promoters that will promote with no nurturing, some that will do it with nurturing, and then others that will probably never do it. So I guess, to answer your question directly, the fear is that we're going to end up talking to people that are never going to do it, and no matter how much we nurture them. Can you run through that again? How does that? What are you looking for?
Great question. So the concept is when it comes to giving referrals, 20% of the people that you know will never. It is just not in their nature. Their mindset is that if I refer you and you fail, it's a bad look on me. And so I'm just never going to provide an introduction. Those people, and I would bet every one of us has a story to tell about being rejected by one of those 20. The problem is when you feel that rejection, you recoil from that emotionally because nobody wants rejection. I'm feeling the rejection, and now I take it personally, and I avoid asking the other 80%. 20% of the people that you know are going to do it naturally. It's in their nature. You don't have to ask them. They are just going to promote you. And if you look at your business now, the referrals that are coming in are probably coming in from 20% of your clients, and it's the 20% that just it's in their nature to help. This 60% is where the biggest opportunity lives. That's the 60% who will, but they don't, number one, they don't know that you need it or want it. They don't know how to do it. And if you can provide them a system and a process for helping you, they will gladly become raving fans and promoters of your organization. So I think that 60% represents perhaps our biggest opportunity as business development professionals.
And what do you mind just expanding? What are we looking for there? Is it a specific disc profile? Is it what should we be looking for to identify?
Well, I think the 20% are going to be primarily high eyes. They're going to be influencers. Those are people. They're just naturally outgoing. You might get an ID in there. Ds generally tend to be so focused on achievement in their own realm, they don't think to help. They will help and they will be great promoters. You have to make it worth their while. So I think this 60% is primarily, this 20%, these are almost always C styles. The C styles they're risk averse. They like predictability and accuracy. They're going to avoid putting themselves in a position where they may fail. And so that 60% are the D's and S's that if we'll harness, they will help us. We just have to have a process that will help. We have to have a system and then follow the system. Other challenges.
I think one of my challenges I was saying during the breakout is taking someone that the idea that I'm going to build a relationship and like nurture my way into someone spending $250,000 on a kitchen that wasn't otherwise looking to do a kitchen remodel, or like we're trying to I don't know how to articulate this. If I just start cold calling past clients and they were like, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about spending $500,000, but now that you call me and I remember how much I like you, and yeah, sure, I think that is a good idea that we should do our kitchen. I just feel like people have to sort of come to that conclusion on their own. Or that's my head trash anyway.
Well, I don't know that it is head trash. I think you're asking yourself the underlying question of why would someone want my services? I think that's a valid question. If we're not starting with the why, we may not be in the right target. And in a situation like Kylie's, perhaps if I'm nurturing deeper relationships, I need to nurture that with strategic partners. Who are the people that folks who are looking to remodel in Kylie's case, where do they go? What is their first course of action? Are they looking at appliances? Are they going to home shows? I mean, it's trying to intersect them in those specific places. Who specifically am I looking for? And how do I go about nurturing the relationship so that I can be effective in my time allocation here? So I don't think it's head trash as much as it is good, solid questions that I need to process, because otherwise I'm just not going to if I don't answer these questions for me, it will never be a priority for me to proactively build business. I will be responding more than being proactive. Great one, Kylie. Who else? What are the challenges?
Jim, I was wondering about, in our breakout, we were talking about strategic partners. And Emma was talking how she has built a relationship with a real estate agent.
Their network a big favor by.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead.
So she was talking about that, and how that only works is if she can meet the timeline that these strategic partners are expecting. She's got a real estate agent when they buy a new house. Now, for someone like me in my current situation, I'm booked out through November of this year. So it would be very difficult, my attention now to prospecting is different if I needed it tomorrow. If I was looking for April starts of projects, I'd be scrambling.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great question. When do I need it? Because marketing is not like a light switch. You go into a dark room, you flip on the switch illuminates the room, presto, here we have what we're looking for. With this is a long game. And I think some of the disillusion that comes in social selling is the hope that it generates returns quickly, juxtaposed to the reality that it isn't as fast as we hoped it would be. Eddie's question, when, really focuses on what should my strategy be if I'm looking for, what was it, a November start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good one.
Well, can I piggyback on that?
Please.
Because I feel like I feel that same pain of, I actually don't even want to build relationships with realtors because I tend to just disappoint their customers or their clients. I get like a great lead from a realtor and I'm like, thank you, realtor. And then the person wants to start before they move in and they close in 30 days. And then I just feel like I've kind of failed that partner. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
No, it's a valid concern. So am I targeting proven sources that will allow me to be successful? I mean, in a relationship with a realtor, if they're calling you to help them sell a home, you might kill the deal by giving them a realistic price. Yeah, that's kind of a bad deal. So is that really the best use of time? Shift directions a little bit. If you focus on relocation realtors, when I was selling remodeling, I had great success with 2 realtors who focused on out-of-state clients moving into town. And every one of those people they introduced me to turned into business because they needed somebody they could trust and they didn't know anybody. So finding that specific niche, this relationship mining, pipelining is really about finding that specific niche. Anybody else? How about the LumenCore team? What are you finding as broad versus focused?
Jim, this is Tyler. At LumenCore, something we talked about is our many different verticals at LumenCore, and how maybe one of our newer verticals, which is whole systems, is a much more broader, almost shotgun approach to finding new business, because we're not totally positive where that business is going to come from. Whereas in some of our more developed business, like the microscopy vertical, we know our key opinion leaders, we know who uses our products, and we have a really good persona of who we should be reaching out to.
Love that. Research is another component of that. Thank you, Tom.
And something else we talked about is that it can feel like you're throwing spaghetti against the wall a lot of the time when you're prospecting. But it's almost like that old adage of, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So if you've been preparing and setting the seeds with a lot of different potential clients, when one of them has money, they're going to come to you for their next project.
Good. How about the CRBR team? What are you finding from a prospecting perspective? Are you guys casting wide, or are you focusing narrow?
I think for me and my team, one thing that we do is we have our CRM database. So we make sure that when somebody first starts, they go down the rabbit hole, they go online and add everybody in there that they could find, data mining everybody. And then we throw out email blasts every month. And then we also do read receipts on those. So you could see who's engaging with your emails versus who's not. And then the people that are engaging every month on our emails, that's who we kind of go after. And then, with our territory, depending on the size, like mine only has 250,000 people. It's very small. So, I'll cast a net out there, and then I have my targets, and I just go after those specific targets and then try to get whatever I can out of them. I don't necessarily just go to the front desk and then leave it there. I'll go and try to find out exactly who I need to talk to, set a meeting with them, get on some kind of vendor contract, and then just nurture that relationship until I can get all I can out of that. But that's kind of the strategy that we use is, and then also researching people that are targets online, figuring out what their likes are and giving them personal touches instead of just bringing cookies every day or every week or whatever. So we try to identify our targets and then, get personal relationships with them. And then also they kind of know us because of the email blast as well. So it's not really like a cold call. They're familiar with us.
Yeah, so 2 points that Dustin brought up. One is the sales advisors experience, maybe maturity. If I've got somebody new, we're going to be scattering a wide net And then we're going to look to focus that down to who are the targets that can bear fruit for me, as opposed to somebody who has got a mature business with established relationships. I just keep those relationships. I just stay in front of them, dropping off cookies, doing the things that can keep me top of mind for them. Thank you, Dustin. Who else? Thoughts, comments? So with this topic in mind, what I'd like you to think about is developing your specific plan. I'm going to come back to this list in just a moment, but this tool, this pipeline planner, helps you build really pain by numbers. If you know how many, what is your lead sources active? These are the variables we need to be aware of. Active versus passive. Justin, share with the group your new position and their lead source provisions. Yep, gotcha. Yeah. And so you said they're going to book how many appointments a day for you? So the advantage to a situation like Justin's is you just show up and you do your thing and hopefully people will buy from you. The disadvantage is I've had no opportunity to pre-qualify. And so it's a little bit like spaghetti on the wall. Over time, will they encourage him to develop his own book of business and relationships? I would guess so. I think it will happen organically one way or the other. The more established you get in business, the more your reputation carries you. But there's always a blending of whether it's active or passive lead source. I want, if you're in a position where you find yourself primarily responding to passive leads, look carefully at your close ratio. If your close ratio is less than, I'd say probably 20%, you really need to focus on augmenting that with active, more qualified leads, because you'll spend a lot of time. I was dealing with, had one client who, a win for them, their close ratio was 7%. And they would have been thrilled if they could increase it to 8. And their business model was spaghetti on a wall times 10. I mean, it was crazy. There was a lack of thoughtfulness in pre-qualifying. They were playing the numbers game. Is sales a numbers game? Yes, to an extent. But let's be smart. Let's play the game smart. So,
hey, Jim.
Yeah.
I heard you say the word close ratio for the first time, I think, in any Sandler meeting. So I was just curious, running Sandler in our industry, what do you think is a successful close ratio would be?
Yeah, so the variables that go into defining a close ratio is it closed at what stage? So when we look at the stages of relationship development, stage number 1 is an attempt. That's an attempt to reach someone, whether they've come to you or you're going to them. Stage number 2 is a conversation with a decision maker. Stage number 3 is a discovery meeting. Stage 4 is some version, whatever your version of a presentation. And stage 5 is a closed either sale or closed file. So I think you got to get clear on your terms. Which stage are you talking about? And factoring in your close ratio on each of these is, if you want to be very specific on your business, get to here. I think so. For example, attempts to conversations with a decision maker in my business, yeah, I'm probably at a 60% because I'm responding to referrals and introductions. So everything is locked and loaded. If I'm dialing for dollars, that number might be 5%. So it depends on the maturity of your business. The ones that are crucial is I want to make sure I'm getting to the decision maker. I want to make sure that if I have a discovery meeting, if I'm finding pain, budget, and decision, and then not going further if it's not necessary. Pipeline management by ratios is a great way to do troubleshooting. You look at your close ratio in each of these areas, and if you find that you're stockpiling, I'm getting plenty of discovery meetings, I'm just not flipping them into presentations, so it's probably an urgency issue. I'm going to want to look at what's your upfront contract. What does that sound like? Are you preparing them to make a decision? You're probably being wishy-washy when it comes to the close, and you're accepting a think it over, which we all know is a slow no. So this gives you the intel to work smart. Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? So this is part of the numbers game. The conversion worksheet takes you through each of these stages I just talked about and working your way backwards. What is the revenue number I'm looking for in either sales or commission? How many sales does that require? How many proposals? How many qualifying meetings? How many conversations? How many attempts? And then what should my mix be? So did I put that? Yeah. So that worksheet is in your chat. In this breakout, take a screenshot if you would, Jason, and give them a chat of that as well. In this breakout, what I'd like you to do is, looking at these questions that we came up with, get clarity in your strategy here. My mission today is for us to walk out of the training with a more clear understanding of purpose in prospecting. What proactive effort am I going to invest in prospecting that's going to help me grow my business? Given the uniqueness, every single business here has a unique mix of targeting. Every single person has a unique relationship with sales. So it has to be, there's no one size fits all here. We can distill it down to ratios, yes, but what fits you is going to be what you can commit to. I love Jason's quadrants here. This is really where the rubber meets the road. What can I do and will I do? This is number one. If I can't and won't do it, it's a waste of time. If I can do it but won't do it, I don't have enough pain. If I can't do it but I will do it, I have courage to persist. So where do I live in these quadrants, and what am I going to do to get to this point? And if I can't get to I can and will, then I might be in the wrong business. Might just be in the wrong business, okay? So in this breakout, focus on this list and and how is this going to shape your prospecting plan? We'll give you 10 minutes for this one.
Oh.
All right.
I like to talk too much, so it's your guys' turn to go.
Okay. I actually was kind of writing things down around this. Actually, it's been a helpful session, more than some. I think for us, like we get like our CRM system. There's people. We have like ebooks. We have weekly blogs, and we can like see who goes into these things. We can see if people like download things off our website, like certain documents or our ebook, and like we need to like create like templates to those to like reach out to those people, because obviously they're interested in something, and not like bombard them with like phone calls and things, but like just like a message like that we recognize that they looked at something. If they need any help with anything, like feel free to reach out, like a simple kind of thing. I also think like we need to like personalize like our process more, like how you said, like you never come empty handed to things. Like when people sign like their design agreement, like or like design like their like construction agreement, like we have like bottles of champagne we give them, or like little things like that, and then like at the end of the project like do something for them, whatever that is, like a welcome home, back home kind of thing. And I think there's just like little things we need to, and we've kind of been talking about these things lately actually in our office, but just like little stuff like that.
That's great.
Because long term it would probably be beneficial just for like referrals, like long term, like that experience with that people have, and like reaching out to people sooner.
I know some of the feedback that we've gotten from like high-end clients is they really like little experiences or things that because like if you have a certain amount of money, if you really wanted it, you could buy it, right? And so but like a nice bottle of champagne, or we'll go to like the local bakery and like a high-end kind of bakery and get like specific things, so they're still like local to Atlanta, but you can save them for a party, or you don't have to like do anything with them right away. So I feel like those things are helpful instead of like something like super branded, or because they might not necessarily want it. But I was thinking about like my prospecting tool, and I have a great client. We did their kitchen during COVID. They were like 10 out of 10, amazing. And we would send them Thanksgiving things, and I would send them like Mother's Day cards, and I just like never heard anything. And I was like, oh, like they were, never like a bad word, great review, whatever. And their house ended up on, their kitchen ended up on House, like the website for like a kitchen. And so I just sent it to her, and I was like, hey, your kitchen made me think of you. Like, here it is highlighted in this, national website or whatever. And she was like, oh, I've been meaning to call you. We want to do the garage. And so now I have like this $600,000 job based upon an email. So I do think like, especially in like renovations, like people generally want, like once they get the bug to do something, like every couple of years, they've thought about the next thing. So it's really just kind of keeping that warm, so that way they don't forget about you. And a lot of times it's just like people are really busy, and I know I think of things at like 2 a.m. when I'm not going to call someone, but they want to do it. So I think just continuing to keep those leads warm really helps.
Are you guys by chance prospecting to financial advisors at all?
That's a good question. No, we've like had some people reach out, or like some of our clients are financial planners and things like that. I think it's always one of those things where a financial planner could say like, yes, you have the money, go do it. Or they might say like, you don't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's a little bit, but that's That's an interesting.
I only say that because like we don't just specialize. I mean, we specialize in property damage services, but we can also do remodels and ground up construction. We do about probably like 10 to 12% remodels right now, but
Okay.
a lot of our referrals that have come from that are all remodels, 9 times out of 10 they came from a financial advisor.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So maybe something to look into.
yeah.
We prospect there. A lot of them actually like will come up to you during things because they want you to like use them. But we have like probably 2 or 3 that like we really target everyone to. So we don't like. We obviously have conversations with new ones, but there's just ones we know that like are like good people. Like they kind of run their business the way we are, and like they're not going to like overextend our customers for a project and things like that. We know they won't. So we have some we work with, or some people just have their own and they're coming to us like, hey, we went to our financial advisor. This is what we can afford. And then is it doable kind of thing. But we do have some we work with for like those purposes too, that people go through.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Work or play?
Both.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. So let's get a little bit of feedback. How about room 5? Let's see. Ty, Kristen, Emma, Emily, and Eddie. Who wants to be the spokesperson? What'd you all discover?
I think I should be, since I probably spent most of the time talking in that last one. We were definitely focused on, I guess, going back to the previous breakout, what I had said is that I really like a process, investing time in something where there's leverage. So if we're doing kind of that shotgun approach and I don't feel like I'm getting the bang for my buck out of it, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. When I'm investing time in something where I really feel like it's punching above its weight. Sorry for all the analogies, but so we were talking about, and Eddie referred to this during the last session about how we were talking about strategic partnerships. So we were talking a little bit about the ones that are more productive and the ones that aren't, asking the questions of the ones that aren't productive. But I guess I had a question following up, coming back and the rest of the session. What about those activities that we all believe are strategically important, but we're not necessarily seeing the fruits of those, and how to judge what kind of time to invest in those things?
Very valid questions. I think you've got to get clear on identifying what is your expected ROI. When you go into it, like take, for example, networking groups. Many of you are probably members of a BNI type networking group where your commitment is to attend weekly meetings, and everybody's there to exchange leads. If you're not getting tangible results, what is it worth your time? And it may not be. And if that's the case, you owe it to the group you've committed to say, look, upfront contract. I'm here because I'm trying to generate revenue. This isn't working for me. I'm on a 90-day, 30-day, 60, you pick, probation. If I don't see a turnaround here, I'm going to be joining another group. So making sure you go into it expecting what ROI should be. I would also recommend that you make sure you're going in with a realistic expectation. You know, some marketing, trade shows, many people do trade shows, not necessarily for the potential revenue, but if my competitors are there, I better be there, right? It may be strictly for brand building. You have your own reasons, just go into it knowing what they are. How about room number, Chris Catkish? What group are you in, Chris? Did I lose Chris?
Yeah, he took off, but he was in room 6 with the inside team and the MAK team.
All right, room 6. Thank you. Christina, Dallin, or MAK, what did you guys discuss?
I'll go, Jim.
Thank you.
I think what we were sort of struggling with, both of our firms are mostly pretty passive in terms of this. We talked about that last week. We don't really have a lot of active strategies in place, which is why this is a great topic for us. But just sort of trying to put metrics to what that looks like in terms of, you know, what would it look like to get one job a quarter in this way? How much time do you allocate to that? How many touches? You know, trying to figure out sort of what that ratio is in a, you know, we know what it costs to convert a lead. And so, you know, if I spread that out over 3,000 coffee dates, that's different than, you know, how we touch people. So I guess that's what we were struggling with, is sort of putting some metrics to it to sort of be able to measure it and evaluate what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, I think I would recommend you explore taking a page out of the Lumencore playbook, which is focusing on a vertical. So they have verticals that are aligned with their product. So a specific product serves a niche in the culture, that becomes my target. So what would a vertical that you would like to see growing into? Maybe it's the vertical of neighborhoods, right? Maybe there's a specific neighborhood you don't yet have a foothold in, that your goal is to get your yard sign there. All right, that's a good target. Let's go after that. So figuring out what are the specific areas of focus that I would like to see tapping into. One of the things that you may consider looking at is we call it networking nets. So think about whose database are you jealous of? So if you were to imagine in your mind's eye, boy, if I could have that database, that would be awesome. For me, that led to joining a country club. Got to pay to play, and getting involved. Unfortunately, you have to be social. You can't just pay your dues and people give you money. It doesn't turn out that way. You actually have to get involved, serve on committees, be active in the club, and pretty soon revenue comes in the door. So it's figuring out what are the things I can do to broaden my net. Because here's the thing. Right now, if you continue along the course that you're on, if it's fairly passive, you're going to continue to reap the fruit of the lead sources that you currently have, which may bypass some of the lead sources that could really benefit you. And so if I remember at one point in my career, it seemed like every single client at the very end of the job were arguing about paying the final bill and negotiating down the price. And I thought, what is wrong with this picture? And I did a deep dive, and I found every one of those were referred to me from a client who was high D, exactly their profile. So he's introducing me to people just like him. And in my mind's eye, he's coaching them. Look, they'll do a great job. And at the end, if you refuse to pay 5%, they'll discount it. Yeah. And you know, it's like, really? have I fallen for that? And I realized then I need to change my lead source. And that meant no longer accepting those referrals and finding a better lead source. So if my lead sources aren't providing me the ROI I want, I need to go find where can I get it. Anybody else? Open microphone. What are your thoughts?
I feel like I don't have an issue prospecting. I'm confident doing it, and I know if I don't do it, I don't make money. So it's not an issue picking up the phone. I just spread a lot of seeds, and I feel like it may be better to have more strategy because I'm fairly new in this position, but in the past I've always had I spread seeds and then I start to like funnel it down so that I'll make maybe 50 calls that week and really dedicate some time, block out some time to make the 50 calls from my emails the previous week. And then it kind of just keeps rolling over. But I'm wondering if maybe there's more of an effective way.
Yeah, so I think Ashley's got a great formula. It's having, okay, I have a designated number of attempts that I'm going to make every week. If it's 50, great number, I'm going to make 50 calls. With those attempts, what am I funneling it down to? And what is my rhythm? So most salespeople don't persist long enough. It takes 8 attempts before you can legitimately flush someone. Think about that. 8 attempts. By 2 or 3, if you're giving up, they're just now getting used to seeing your name, right? So be persistent. That persistence pays. And a multi-pronged approach. So social selling. One of the statistics that you'll find through LinkedIn is that your name will not show up in a person's circle of influence unless you're connected to 4 other people in their circle. So if you've got somebody or some association or some strategic partner that you're targeting, if you're going after that isolated person, you want to cast a broader net. You want to look at who is in their circle of influence and connect to 4 other people. You get that quadrant of people that are in addition to your target focus. That's going to get you seen more by your target audience. So the algorithms in social selling are constantly changing and constantly evolving. If you don't have the patience to learn it and play the game, that's an easy game to outsource. You can find somebody that can augment that for you and help supplement your company's marketing. Anybody else have any open microphone suggestions on best practices you've found for social selling?
Jim, I have a question.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that it takes 8 touches, and if you're not doing those 8 touches, you're flushing them too soon.
Yeah.
I think it's important to know the disc profile there. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'm currently in the market for looking to put solar onto my house. So my father installed and me get 3 quotes, just like, the head trash.
Yeah.
So the second guy came in, gave me a very thorough quote, and I was waiting on the third. And this guy kept reaching out to me to the point where I finally said, listen, stop. I will get in touch with you when I'm ready. And that's because of my high C disc profile. I'm afraid of making a mistake, so I want to be very thorough. Do you still think that 8 touches with everyone is a broad stroke?
I think it's a basic principle. The frequency is what I think you need to vary. So what was his rhythm? I mean, is he calling you every 3 days or?
Yeah, it was every 3-4 days. He was texting, emailing, etc.
Yeah, so when I think of 8 touches, I'm thinking of it over a 10 to 12 week period, right? So I'm not thinking a concentrated barrage. I think if you're focused on concentrated barrage, yeah, his problem was not setting a clear expectation for follow-up. And Eddie, being Sandler trained, did that for him. and set the expectation. Look, I'm not going to follow up until I've heard from blank. Accept it or not is going to determine whether I keep considering you for the project, right? Upfront contract. So making sure in your attempt, we are not, salespeople have a reputation for being self-centered, self-promoters, and it's often well-deserved. The Sandler process is not about bludgeoning someone to the point that they give up. Hard selling is good for one thing, and that's hard resistance. You don't want to create that environment. This is about nurturing touches. Now, what should the touches be? I think they should be a variety of flavors. It might be I think at least 50% of it should be value-added information. I came across an article, I thought of you, boom. Not having anything to do with, do you want to buy from me? It's just remaining in touch and nurturing that relationship.
Something I've used is storytelling. So when I come across a client that is like maybe has a big red flag or a success story, I will push it out to people that I've been prospecting, like, hey, this person kind of is in the same boat as you. This is what happened. And it kind of gives the mass mentality, the groupthink mentality, and people become a little bit more warmed up to you. And Eddie, when he's saying 8 touches, it's before you even commit to anything. So it's very friendly, gentle. It's not like, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? It's more like, don't forget about me. Hey, here for you. That's kind of the
Yeah, that's a good point. If you've already presented and you aren't setting up a clear next step. So if you don't get a closed yes or closed no, as a professional, you must get a clear future. Those are the 3 choices: a closed yes, a closed no, or a clear future. And the clear future is a scheduled time to reconnect. And that's the point where I want to be the last look. You know, if somebody like Eddie, I'm calling on Eddie, and Eddie says, you know, I'm getting 3 quotes. Good to know. What's your timeline there? When do you suppose they'll get back to you? What are you thinking? Let's do this. Why don't we schedule a follow-up after you've had ample time? You may have determined to go with someone else. That's okay. I'd just like to close the loop with a conversation. How about 3 weeks from today? So getting clear future, scheduled appointment with an agenda, what we're going to talk about. That's sales 101. Don't leave a meeting without it. Anybody else? Thoughts or comments?
Jim, you said close yes or close no. What was the last part? I was trying to write
Clear
down.
future. I want a
Yeah.
clear future. And a clear future is a scheduled appointment, date, time, and agenda. And listen, when I first started Sandler, this was very hard for me. It felt really pushy. It is a huge time saver for you and your buyer. It's just being professional. It will serve you and them well. All right. Anybody else? Thoughts or comments?
I want to untangle something. If I'm prospecting, there was a thought about 8 touches, and then mixing 8 touches with prospecting, which is the topic at large here. I don't think I mean to commingle those. Meaning, if I'm calling a past client to connect and see if they have a referral for me, it's the person they connect me with that I might want to connect with 8 times if there's a person with a real need.
Yeah. So this is in prospecting for net new clients. That prospecting activity needs to have persistence with it. If you're prospecting with current people who you have a relationship with, I still think you need to be persistent. There's no magic number there.
Sure. But like past clients, I might call once a year, once every other year.
Not enough. It's not enough. That's a selfish call. Let's make them relationship calls, right? People buy from people they like. So I would say maybe minimum twice a year. And maybe it's a thank you, a handwritten thank you note at the anniversary of their project, right? That's a touch. Maybe you send them a coupon for a play or a movie. I don't care what it is, but you got to show people love. That we have this built-in sense of fairness. If somebody gives you something, you feel compelled to give them something of equal value in exchange. I mean, I would bet every single person on the line has gotten Christmas cards from someone that you've then added them to your Christmas card list because they sent you a card and now you feel obligated to send them a card. It's human nature. Let's reach out with more consistency. Dustin talked about taking cookies to clients. I mean, if you're selling business to business, show up with a box of donuts or fruit, something like that. All of these are strategies that create an IOU. So build your relationship around demonstrating the relationship.
On that note, I just want to share a quick story. Past client re-texted me the other day, done 2 projects for them. And he said, hey, I heard you're going to visit my neighbors at some point in the near future. Let me know when you're in the area, stop by for a beer.
Nice.
And I was like, what the WTF? Like, shouldn't I, like, he's like, he's working on our relationship for me. And I'm not, like, the bottom line is people also just want, we all want positive relationships. And presuming you've been worked with good people whose lives you want to improve, invest in, stay connected with, having good relationships is just a rewarding part of life, period.
Yeah, I think we can tend to become more mercenaries than is in our best interest. We want to be the ones making that call. All right.
What do you mean by that? Be more mercenary that's in our best interest? I don't understand.
Well, I think here you have a client reaching out to you because he wants the relationship. You're not reaching out to him because he doesn't have any value to you until he wants to spend more money. You're being a mercenary. I'm blaming you, Kurt, and I'm judging you. I'm not judging you in particular. I'm judging us as salespeople when we see our clients as dollar signs, not as relationships. We demean the value of the relationship, and it really takes away some of the power of them becoming your ambassador.
So I think, and it finally is now hitting me after an hour and a half of this call. I think what you're saying is build positive relationships for positive relationships' sake, and then probably some business fits will come out of that.
Steph, can Steph jump in? Because she had a really great point about this, Steph, with pursuing people that have said they want to hit pause. Is Steph on here still?
Yeah, wait, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, just like we've had a couple clients, I had one recently who said, I just took a new job. We need to, we don't want to move forward into phase design. It's just too much going on, but maybe we'll pick up again in a year. And Steph was saying, we really need to stay in contact with the people that might feel bad that they hit pause in the past. Like, let them know, like, oh no, we still like you. We're still inviting you to events. We're not upset that you had to hit pause.
Yeah, like putting yourself in their position and thinking, oh, like I might be embarrassed to go back. They're gonna be like, I don't know. They're gonna be like, you guys again? Oh yeah, okay. But letting them know that we still value them and like nurturing that. Like actually I was just checking my to-dos and I need to go pick up a gift for Abby. So we can give that to her before she starts her new job.
Love it. All right, so in determining your best mix, this is where the rubber meets the road. So this is your homework. So what I'd like you to work on is coming up with a specific plan that encapsulates an increase to your current prospecting activities. Somebody said a little bit earlier, this is a good topic for us because we're not very proactive. Great. Don't make it so big that you won't do it. I'm okay with baby steps. I mean, I have one client who has his cookbook is to send out 2 past client emails a week. That's it. And he gets more than enough business from that. He's an architect. I was talking to him 2 or 3 months ago, and he said, yeah, you know, my prospecting plan, I've had to change it. I've gotten too busy. Now I'm down to 2 emails a month. That's his plan. It's a personal email. He picks the client. He ages the accounts. He looks at it. Hey, I was thinking about you. Here's what's going on in our lives. What's going on for you? Sends the email. Work comes in. So what is your increased prospecting activities? How can I invest the most time with the most effective activities? What do I need to do to rotate touches? I don't want to get in a trench where I'm constantly doing the same thing. I don't want to be predictable. Dustin, you were talking about what are some of the personal things that you show up with when you go to see a client?
So, for example, I had this one agent that I was trying to get a hold of for a really long time, and she would never give me the time of day. But she had a front desk person, right? So I looked on her wall, on the lady I was trying to get a hold of. I looked on her wall and I saw a bunch of pictures of like dogs and stuff, right? So I purposely started talking to the front desk person about dogs. And so I said it a little bit louder to where the other person could hear me. And by the time I was done with the conversation, the lady was coming over, showing me pictures of her dogs, introducing me to her, like talking. So all 3 of us were ended up talking. I later on got her like a custom like dog band, like what do you call it? Like a scarf or whatever that had her logo on it. And so like that meant more to her versus me just dropping off cookies or donuts or something like that type of thing. I had another rep in another area that I told her she was trying to get a hold of this one like fire chief guy, and we researched him, and he also loved dogs too. So I was like, well, why don't you get him a custom, you know, same thing. I also donated, I had another client that loved dogs, coincidentally, and I donated money in his honor to the SPCA. So, you know, he got like a certificate that he donated to there, like that type of thing is what, you know, and it's kind of weird because, I mean, you don't want to get something so specific to where they know that you stalked them, like, you know what I mean? But like, if they like the Avengers, you don't want to get them the exact character they like, but maybe like a, you know, a whole Avenger thing or something. I don't know. But like, you don't want to get too specific to where it's creepy, but, you know, you want to, you know, kind of, you know, make sure that they get that personal touch. I had another guy that I was trying to get a hold of for a long time. I researched and found out that he graduated from Sacramento State. So I got him a jersey from Sacramento State for a football team, and I put the number that he graduated on the back. I mean, that was kind of probably a little too personal, but he liked it. So, you know, just like those type of examples.
Dustin is a stalker. Do not let him tell you guys any different.
I'm going to get to wherever I can, however I can. That's for sure.
It's not
Strategic
trespassing,
zone.
it's soliciting.
Exactly.
I do.
That's why, yeah, it's not.
I do
That's
things a
legit.
little bit different when I like to cook. So tonight, for instance, one of the superintendents of the school is cooking at Rotary. I volunteer to come help them. You know, do you need help tonight? You know, do you need doing something? And I try to do more of my timeness going out and then getting in front of whoever he's in front of as well. So I utilize that, you know, looking for a personal thing that I can get invested in, or doing an event on a weekend or a couple hours here and there, but definitely like to do it a different way other than
Love it.
stalking people on Facebook and finding out their favorite number.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It works for Dustin though. I give it to him. It works.
Well, you know, the page we can all take out of Dustin's playbook is being specific at who do we see as a potential rainmaker for us. Who is that person that we could target that can bear fruit for us? And it may not be the person who can buy one item from you. Perhaps it's the person who can introduce you to multiple people who are going to be able to use your service. So focusing that effort on targeted audience. Investing time in improving your skill. You know, the one thing you have, if back to the close ratios, your close ratio is a direct reflection. Write this down. My close ratio is a direct evaluation of my skill. My close ratio is a direct evaluation of my skill. If my close ratio is low in an area, there is a corresponding skill I really need to work on. And then redirecting time that yields marginal results. Constantly be relentless in looking at your time and determining, hey, if it's not bearing fruit, let's stop doing it. All right,
Jim,
yeah, go ahead.
I was
Go
going to say,
ahead.
I have a question. So in our business, something that we talk about a lot is that we don't want a low close ratio, but we also don't want a high close ratio,
Agreed.
right? Because if we have a high close ratio, that means that we're not seen enough. So I'm sure it's industry specific, but I think we usually shoot for like 60% close ratio, and that means you're seen, or even lower, somewhere between 45 and 60.
No, if your close ratio is too high, I think that's an indication of a problem as well. Maybe your prices are too low, right? That could be an issue. The study of efficiency has to deal with numbers. So this tool, 11.5, I want to go to the next one. This tool is designed to help you come up with a plan. So I don't care how simple it is, I'd rather it be more simple. If you're just starting out, if you're joining us and you're new to Sandler and you don't really have any prospecting, maybe it's calling one past client a week. That would be a great baby step. Maybe your second activity would be following up on a past client and delivering them a gift. Maybe the third is targeting, researching, and attempting to reach strategic partner. In this breakout, I want you to come up with what is the planning, prospecting activity that you'll commit to. What is your goal? You're going to track that to the actual. And then but when you're establishing your goal, I want you to think in terms of what do I expect for ROI? And if it's past client, reaching out to past clients. I mean, my philosophy is it should be relationship based. I'm not really expecting ROI other than both of us at the end of the conversation to feel good about connecting. That's the ROI. If I get business out of it, hallelujah, that's great. But my focus is relationship. So I want you to be pure in your motives as well. So let's take 10 minutes talking about prospecting activities that you will commit to. And then we'll wrap up with lessons learned.
I haven't done this. I don't think I did it last year. I did it maybe my first or second year, but I made like Mother's Day cards for clients because most of the time the people that refer me are the wives of the families, just in their networks or whatever. I feel like women are more likely to see someone's kitchen and be like, oh my gosh, who did it? And so I just wrote down 25 of my clients who are mothers. And now I'm just kind of like, do I have the time to send them a card? Would a text feel more like kind of personal, and they're probably more likely to like reach out? Because, you know, if I send them a card, there's a good chance that I won't hear back from them because I think, you know, you open up mail and then you're like, oh, that's so nice. And then, you know, a kid, you know, needs something. Being a mother myself. So I was kind of thinking like, should I send a text and then just like personalize them? And then obviously that would be much quicker than me writing 25 Mother's Day cards. So I was just trying to think about the return on investment and or kind of that connection piece. Any thoughts?
I don't know. I think like it is personal either way, I think.
Yes,
I feel
please.
like you're
Thank you.
right. Like you could potentially get more like a response to a text message. And I think they are both personal. I think there is something into like handwriting like something and like getting it in the mail. Like I get like handwritten. And Mother's Day, Father's Day is actually a really good idea because like it's hard to like remember all your customer's birthday unless like you're truly like tracking it. And we're not really in a business where like we need to get their birthday, so it's kind of weird to like ask for it. For because they probably just know then it's just some kind of fake thing that we send out. So like those are actually a little bit easier because it's only two. Or like if you were to do Father's Day too, like it's targeted 2 days in like of the year, and you just send like say 20 out, and you know who was mothers, who was fathers, and like I think either way, text message or card. I think I don't know. I think I don't know. It's hard because like people respond probably more to a text than a card, but I also feel like the card's more like heartwarming. I don't know.
Yeah, we write a lot of thank you cards. Like I write them one when they sign the design and when they sign the construction agreement. And then when I pass out cookies, there's a
Okay.
handwritten note. And then like when we start a job, we pass out cookies to everybody on the street. And then I make another card when we do the walkthrough. So I feel like yeah, writing cards is like a big part of our culture, but I was just thinking of like if I want there to be more of like a back and forth, would a
Yeah.
text message be easier? Because I know I'll get somebody's like birthday card from a realty company or something, and I'll be like, oh, that's so nice, and then move about my day. Whereas like it would be much nicer if I was like, thank you so much for the card, but like I just forget. And I mean, I'll forget to respond to a text too, but there's probably more likelihood that you would get back.
Yeah,
Or
I guess if
something
you
like
like do so many cards, like I think maybe the text would be even more personal then, since like they already know they get cards for you in the past. Like the fact that you went on your way to text them specifically,
Mhm.
and it's not it's not like people think like, oh, she did this to like everyone type of thing. And then I think maybe it would be better, like in your case. So it's like how often you guys do kind of do cards and things like that. But yeah, because I know what you mean. I get one for my financial advisor for my birthday, for Christmas, and it always comes with like chocolate. You get like a bigger thing at Christmas, you get like a smaller
Oh.
one at your birthday, but I think it's just all set up on like some system he has. It's always like the
Right.
same company. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
doesn't feel super personal if you like know it's coming, you know?
yeah.
But
And I
think
expect it now. Like I expect it. Like, oh, this is from Kevin Carter. Like I know who this is. Yeah.
so I do have time to write Mother's Day cards, but I think it's in the form of that relationship of like the touch that yeah, I feel like the card is almost more passive and the text is more likely to be reciprocated. Bailey, what are your thoughts? I was sharing that I thought maybe I'd either write or make specific texts for all the mothers that of like my clients.
Absolutely. 100%. I think personal touches are super, super, super important. Part of what I'm starting this year is I'm gonna be sending a Christmas card to everyone from our past customers. I never, ever, ever call past customers. The more or less reason why I don't call past customers is because at the end of the day, the customer that we are working with 9 times out of 10 went through an incredibly traumatic situation, and I do not want to trigger that ever
Right.
again.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we're a service that's needed, not a service that's wanted. So remodels, if we're trying to look for that, yeah, but we're very much an industry insurance based kind of situation going on. So I think personal stuff as much as possible, absolutely, but managing it, like Tyler had said, to the point where you don't feel like you're expecting it. You don't know that it's coming. It doesn't feel, again, like you're sending it to everybody else. That's kind of my challenge, is how do I leverage, because I mean, my CRM system, I've got 2,000 to 3,000 different contacts, if not more. I can't handle all of that by myself. I physically can't. But no, I think as customized and personal as possible, and do not, for the love of Christ, please never ever get your stamp with your signature on it and sign a damn card with that stamp. It is so impersonal. It is it's awful. It's dumb. You stamped the card and you wrote the same thing for every single card and then you mailed it out to me. Whoop-de freaking do. You can't even sign my card. Always sign your cards personally with ink yourself. Never do it with a stamp. It's so impersonal. I have a little candle, the wax beads for the fronts of my envelopes, and I have a little house on them, like that kind of stuff. Or I have goodie bags that I make, and right now it's spring, so I'm including flower packets, and I'm springing into the new year, and I've got thank you stickers and all different kinds of stuff. But I've got thank you stickers for property managers, I've got thank you stickers for real estate agents, I've got stickers for government people. They're all different depending on the industry and who I'm trying to target. Everything is very very specific. And so when I do my routes, I'm doing real estate agents one day, I'm doing insurance agents one day, but I'm only doing like one carrier because there's so many people, or I'm doing public adjusters this day. So that way, one, I dress a specific way for different customers. I was just telling my boss, like, I don't wear my ridiculous 5-inch to 6-inch stiletto heels to, you know, real estate agents' offices because they don't give me very great referrals. I deal with more commercial stuff in my heels, or I deal with more, not necessarily real estate, but just property management and property managers in general, or big, you know, industrial facility management and, you know, county officials and commissioners and stuff like that. I will wear, you know, specific clothing, and I will wear a specific perfume. I wear, you know, specific jewelry that is either a little bit more standoffish or, you know, stuff like that. One, so we have more points of topic of conversation because I look a specific way. It gives me something to draw off of myself if I can't find anything to draw off of that customer. So when I'm talking to them, regardless of what I'm giving them the personal touch through our communication as well. That's important too. But I don't know. I just work here.
Yeah. It's kind of hard in your business because, like, to a sense, like, your customers like hope they never have to refer you to like someone else. Yeah.
Well, it's just like buying insurance. You hope that you never have to use your insurance, but you
Yeah.
have to have insurance because what happens if your house floods? What happens if you have a fire? So, I mean, yes, it is very nice that my job is a little bit easier to close because it's not necessarily, am I selling someone? It's more or less, is it covered under your insurance or not? Are you willing to pay for it if it's not covered too? So mine is a little bit different than your guys's, but at the same time, it's very labor intensive because people are incredibly emotional, obviously for the right reasons, but it's very high intensity all of the time. And if you don't know how to manage the intensity, you can't work here. We always say in our interviews, if you don't have the ferocity that we need, you can't be here. Just unfortunately, that's the industry for us.
Yeah, it's like you need it, you don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Nobody wants to go and clean up the biohazard after grandma passed away and melted into her floor. No one wants to go and deal with the house flood or the fire that burned.
All right, we are back. So take a couple of minutes, if you would, please. Jump into the chat feature. Give us your lesson learned. What's your takeaway? What's your action step? What are you going to put into practice as a result of today's session? When you get your lesson learned in, and uploaded. Feel free to sign off. I'm going to go ahead and I want to give you a shameless plug for our foundations and then talk a little bit about what we're going to cover next week. So if you haven't been through foundations lately, my next go around starting next week, April 1st, I'm going to be using the dashboard. So Sandler has new dashboard materials, and this is a laminated spiral bound cheat sheet. So we're going to spend the next quarter going through this. If you haven't been through foundations lately and you want to join us, it's included in your package. Feel free to jump in. These are great tools. I bring it up because we need to know if you're going to be here so we can ship you a copy of the tool. So let us know if you're going to attend or show up next week, and then that'll be our trigger to have you send it out. Yeah, Andy, jump in.
Wasn't that on the 2nd of April, not the 1st?
Yeah, it is on the 2nd.
It is, yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes, Tuesday the 2nd. I bear watching. Thank you, Andy. So next week, we're going to be talking about call reluctance. I think this plagues all of us. You probably, if you look at your calendar this week, there are some phone calls or meetings that you have scheduled that you're thinking, could I fake a heart attack and not show up? It's and that call reluctance is just, we're going to talk about what is the root cause behind it, and how do I get to the point where I can feel the fear and have the courage to take action. So we're also going to be talking about what are the mechanics of actually making that prospecting call. We'll cover things like 30-second commercial. What is an inoffensive prospecting call sound like? Those are some of the strategies we're going to be covering next week. All right. Appreciate all of you and all that you do for the learning community. Great job today. Keep those lessons learned coming. Those of you that are signing off, have a great rest of the week. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Jim.
Goodbye.